morning to Madam Roselle and everyone. Today we are going to talk about the principles and general characteristics of the Malaysia Primary School language teaching language, English language syllabus, and also its rationale of using KSSR in our English language teaching. So we will first touch with the introduction first, then go in briefly on the listening and speaking. Then we will touch on principles, general characteristics, and also some learning theories suitable for English language teaching. And also we will you will be able to see the relation of the rationale of using KSSR in our English language teaching.
Okay, first we want to know as a teacher, what do we teach and what do we expect from those students? First, as a learners we expect them to be successful in what we have to teach them. For an individual, we want them to be confident in what they have learned. If they have learned the English language, they're gonna have to be confident to use the language to other people. Next is contributors. Contributors is to contribute something to the world, which is why they have to be creative. They have to make something new so that they can contribute to the world. Next is citizens. For citizens, they have to be responsible for what we have teach them. They have to be responsible on how to use the thing that we have teach them. Okay, first is what is learning? Learning comes from many general things such as competency. Competency is the abilities to success in something. In this case, we are learning how to be competent in communication. Communication in how to use the language we have learned. How do we communicate with other people using the skills? Next is information and communications technology. As we know, the English language has become the number one language in countries and also become the language for the technology, which is why we have to learn the language in order for us to be competent in information and communications technology. Next is critical thinking. By learning this language, we also increase our abilities for critical thinking. We are able to think outside of the box and also to think creatively and differently from other people. Similar to the creativity, we have to create a new idea, and also for collaboration. As we know, we have to participate with other people and we have to collaborate with other people in order to create another new ideas and learning abilities. For learning, we have a few of the knowledge we have to learn, which is the values, which comes from national and global values, vocabulary and grammar, which is known as the areas of knowledge, which is the right pronouns, how do we use the singular, plural. Next is reading and listening, which is a receptive skill. When we read, we receive the information. Same as listening, we receive the information, which is why it is a receptive skills. Next is writing and speaking, which is a productive skills. Coming from the receptive skill, we are going to product the skills outside, which is using speaking and writing to express what we have learned. Okay, natural conversational skills, which is what we are focusing for our topic, which is listening, the receptive skills, and as well as speaking, which is the productive skills. Such as right now, whenever we listen to a lecture or someone teaching us, we are going to start speaking or answer the question. This is why whenever we receive, we will product again, which is the foundation for teaching and learning at school. When the student listen, when we ask questions to them, they are going to speak and going to answer our question.
Then is what is listening. Listening is that we receive the sound from the surrounding and we understand it. The important is the receive the sound and the understanding, and you will become listen. Listening, this skill is important in KSSR. This is encourage students to listen to the sound from the surrounding and the such as from the nature or from the conversation of others. Let's listen to the surrounding sound. If an active process that is student focus to interpret it. Then part of listening, there is finding out the opinions of the speaker, and it is through silence. That is, if the student listen, he cannot speak, and don't try to react first. It just listen. It involves feeling, thinking, and doing. Feeling is the motivation to still continue to listen, and the thinking is understand and interpret the message. Do is respond. Then the silence is not suppression, but it understanding begin. Then is speaking. Speaking is the delivery of information through spoken language. In the speaking,
before you go proceed, because I notice a lot of the slide before the silence, buang the listening kan? Buang tak mau
listen.
Yes, listening, silence. Silence is not suppression. Because sometimes the source that you take, bukan orang yang fluent kan? You take from ini. So jangan you edit first. Okay, proceed.
That is speaking. Speaking is the delivery of information through spoken language. In conversation, the person involved, that is the listener, must understand what the speaker is speaking. In this picture, both of these persons are speaking in English so that they will understand what each other is saying. This is a relation in the KSSR. Is the student is able to speak with the good intonation and the stress.
Just like in this KSSR book, you can see there's a unit and there's activity on listening and speaking based on conversation.
There is also focus on the phonology. There is I, R, some phonology phonemes.
Phonetics.
Like in this introduction part.
There's table.
Because you have learned before this, so now you know lah, right? Otherwise, before this you buka, you pun tak tahu apa dia. Okay, now you know that they are sound.
Okay, speaking, it depends on the context. There is collaborative experience, physical environment, and focus of speaking. There is speaking is contextual. Then the production of speech sound is depends on the place of articulation, manner of articulation, and the voicing. The third one is how to speak effectively. When you speak, you need to think what you want to say, how do you say it, and the non-verbal communication that you use to strengthen your speech.
Okay, next is the principle for the listening and speaking, which is closely related to the KSSR. According to Yalden in training 1996,
So
there are
which year is Yalden?
Yalden
Fini took from Yalden, right? Yalden tahun bila?
1996.
No, Fini is 1996. Fini quoted Yalden. So Yalden which year? The next time you don't forget the year.
There are three principles which come from syllabus design, which is a view on how a language is learned, which will result in a structured grammar-based syllabus, which is more formal. How do we know a language is learned? We have to know the basic, which is the grammar, the structure, how do we use the plurals, the pronouns, everything, the basics for the language. Next is a view of how a language is acquired, which would result in a process-based syllabus or functional-based syllabus. How do we acquire the language? We have to follow the sequence, which is how to listen, how do we speak, how do we read. We have to follow each of the following process, which is in the syllabus for our English language in primary school. A view of how a language is used will result in situational syllabus. After we have learned all the skills that we needed in the process, we have to know how do we put it in a situation when we go to another country, English language based country. How do we use the skill that we have earned in order for us to communicate with the other people? This is why this is a situational syllabus. This is the underlying pedagogical principles of the curriculum. I'm just gonna skim through it, which is the basics. Learning is fun, meaningful, and purposeful. Teaching is learner-centered. Integration of study methodologies and assessment for learning. This is a few of the principles, and now I'm going to go through what is important for the English language listening and speaking. Okay, first is contextualization. Learning tasks and activities should be designed for students to learn the language in authentic and meaningful context of use, which is what we know just now. Learning should be fun, and we know what is the context for the learning. Lessons are planned around learning outcomes. A theme or a type of text help pupils to use related language skills, grammatical items or structure, and vocabulary appropriately in spoken and written language to suit the purpose, audience, context, and culture. Which is why we have to know the context and we have to know the details for each of the language, such as the British English and the American English. We have to know what is their grammar, what is the vocab for each of them, so that we can use appropriately for the context of what we're using on the culture or even on the situation. Next is learner-centeredness. Learners are at the center of the teaching-learning process. Teaching should be differentiated according to pupils' needs, abilities, and interests. Effective pedagogies will be used to engage them and to strengthen their language development. We know about the multiple intelligence. We know that each student have their own set of skills and their own sets of interests in how to learn, which is why this learner-centeredness focuses on how the students will learn. Okay, learning-focused interaction. The teacher will provide a rich environment for communication that will explicitly foster listening and speaking skills and focus on the achievement of the learning outcomes. While just now it was more focused on the learner, this one is more focused on the learning. How do we make the student learn, and how do we make sure that the situation can help them in learning more about the English? At the same time, the teacher will actively engage pupils by encouraging participation in their learning, boosting their confidence in the use of language, and promoting collaborations among learners from different socio-cultural backgrounds. Like when we see the students using the language of English when they talk to us, we have to boost their confidence by boosting their confidence, and we have to engage them and not mock them whenever they make a mistake. As a teacher, we have to encourage them to use the language without putting them down, and instead encourage them to go further and to learn more. Next is integration. The areas of language learning, the receptive skills, the productive skills, and grammar and vocabulary will be taught in an integrated way, together with the use of relevant print and non-print resources to provide multiple perspectives and meaningful connections. How do we integrate learning to the students? Other than using the usual way of just saying, we have to make another activity so that they will become more interested in the language learning, even subconsciously, such as we integrate the learning of language in the games. Next is process orientation. The development of language skills and knowledge about language involves the teaching processes. The teacher will model and scaffold such processes for pupils while guiding them to put together their final spoken, written, and or multimodal products. As we know from the test, such products that we created for teaching, like alat bantu mengajar. It is the products used in order for teaching students more effectively.
ABA lah minimum.
For process orientation, as we know in KSSR, there's a certain syllabus and sequence that we have to follow in order for language teaching. This is why process orientation is important in the principles. In developing language skills, we have to follow the steps, because if we use from the easiest to hardest, that's the sequence we have to follow. If we just jump into the hardest level, it will be hard for them to learn language skills, and thus they will be discouraged to learn more. Next is spiral progression. Skills, grammatical items, structures, and various types of text will be taught, revised, and revisited at increasing level of difficulty and sophistication. This will allow pupils to progress from the foundational level to higher levels of language use. Similar to the process before, we have to oversee the progression of each of the students, how their levels will increase. For each student, they have different levels, and such we have to be very. We have to know each of the students, where are their progress. If the student is lower than the others, we have to focus more on them, and we have to teach another way different from the other students, so that they can be on the same level as the others.
So after Tan and Radin explained, we came up with a few general characteristics on the syllabus of our English language. First of all, it is structured. Why is it structured? Because just like what Radin explained just now, you must learn starting from the lowest level, and also actually our syllabus is based on KSSR, and KSSR they use modular, and the modular is like starting from first module to second module, third module, and fourth module. The first module is listening and speaking. The second is reading. Third is writing. Then fourth, language arts. So if you can see from this textbook, you see the first unit, it will always start with listening and speaking activities, like listening and speaking. Then go to reading, then writing, then the language arts. And same goes to the second unit. Second unit also listening and speaking. And then you read, and then write, and then language arts. So there's a structure, step by step, in every topic. And then next is related to daily lives. So most of the content of the English language syllabus is always related to our daily life. Like, for example, the first unit, it says for listening and speaking, listening to the environmental sounds, like the bird chirping, everything about environment. So it's related to our daily life. And also about the conversation activity are also in here. And then progression, just like what Radim said, we need to know the pupils level. Later on this progression, I will give a clearer image on the next few slides. Then the fun learning activities, of course, because they have sing songs, activities, especially on the language arts. And then collaboration means that the pupils need to be in team to do listening and speaking activities, so they can do conversation thing and learn about listening and speaking.
Next is learning theories. Learning theories that can be used as an approach in teaching English based on KSSR. First theory is behaviorism. Behaviorism is to make a behavior through the method of stimulus and response. First one, we need to give a stimulus particular to the direct to the particular response. That is in English learning. Stimulus means a question asked, and the response means the answer needed. There is a person asks a question, then the second person will give the correct answer for it. After this, this process will repeat many times until it becomes a habit. After that, it is strengthened by and reinforcement. In this story, learning a new language is similar to forming a new set of habits. Learning of a language through a process of imitating and repeating the same form and text until it becomes a habit. Then the reinforcement has two. There is the reinforcement and the punishment. Reinforcement can increase the probability that the behavior that we want to occur again. Then punishment is decrease the probability that the behavior that we don't want to occur again. Both of these reinforcement and punishment can be divided in a positive and negative. Positive is that we added a stimulus, negative is we decrease a stimulus. The example of positive reinforcement is if someone can give a good correct answer, then we will give him a reward. If it is a negative reinforcement, it's like the teacher gives the reward to the student. Then he said that if you can answer this correctly, then you can escape from the quiz. The example of positive punishment is if the student cannot answer the question, then the teacher will give punishment to the student. And the negative punishment is at the beginning, the teacher let the student to play handphone in the classroom. Then if the student cannot answer the question well, then this charge will be removed. That the student cannot play handphone anymore. As an overall, the application of behaviorism is that parents or teacher ask a question to their children or student. Then if the children can give a good answer, then they will give a reward to him. Then this process is always repeated until the person can answer the question unconsciously. Then it becomes a habit. Then if someone else asks the same question, then the student also can give the response immediately. So this is then is the strength and the weakness of behaviorism. Strength is focused on the clear goal. That is, we can create the response we want. Second is can respond automatically to the clues of goals. But there is a weakness of this theory. That is the stimulus for the correct response do not occur. That is when the question changes a little bit more, the student can answer it. The approach that uses behaviorism theories for the English teaching is called audio-lingual method, which will be discussed later. Second theory is the socio-cognitive. In the social constructivism, is that the student construct the knowledge when interact to the environment. In this concept, learning is the prior knowledge or plus new information through the process of assimilation and conversion will become on understanding and knowledge. Because that the student build the knowledge themselves, so it is influenced by the background, culture, and the embedded worldview. In this theory, learning only occurs when the knowledge introduced is slightly beyond the learner's developmental level. That is at the zone of proximal development, JPP, that is between the potential developmental level and the actual developmental level. If the knowledge is below the actual developmental level, it is too easier to the students and the student cannot learn anything. But if it is above the potential developmental level, that is the maximum achievement of the student also cannot learn because it is too difficult and the student totally cannot understand it. And the guardian from teacher that can give the student to at the zone of ZPP. Is first scaffolding technique to increase students' competence and reduce teacher's guardian. Second is a tutoring, is a teacher give explanation. Third one is collaborative learning, is group studying. The last one is role playing, is imitate the real world problem. For the example, the application is a student with less student is always interact with an adult with more skill. Then the children will listen carefully and it will try to imitate the ways the adult say. Then the strength and the weakness of constructivism. The strength is the learners are able to interpret multi-realities because they always build the knowledge themselves. Second one is learners are able to able to deal with real life situation. And the weakness is divergent thinking and action. Because of students build their knowledge themselves, they may construct wrong knowledge despite the guidance from the teachers. The difference between behaviorism and constructivism is behaviorism. In behaviorism, student tends to be passive. That is, the student wait for the stimulus from the teacher. Constructivism is student tends to be active as they build their knowledge themselves. In behaviorism, the teacher is active to give a stimulus to the student, and in constructivism, the student is passive but the learner is active. In behaviorism, the material is provided by the teacher. Material means the stimulus. Constructivism is the student understand the information construct by themselves. Next is the approaches for the language teaching. First is the audio-lingual method to train speaking skill. In this method, human can be trained to a system of reinforcement that is same as use the theory of behaviorism. The correct use of threat will receive a positive feedback, but the incorrect will receive the negative feedback. Characteristic is teacher-centered, as teacher give stimulus. And the drill and method is practiced typically, and it is always repeated the process. And it focuses on the correct grammar and the pronunciation. This is an example of oral drill. We will demonstrate it, and I'm the teacher and she the student. First one is repetition. The learner repeat and answers as soon as he hears it. This I'm teacher, I said I eat an apple.
I eat an apple.
The second one is the impression. One word in the sentence appear in another form and repeated. I will say that the apple is on the table.
The apple is on the table.
The third one is replacement. One word is replaced by other. She eat the apple.
She eat apple. He eat apple.
Last one is restatement. That is the learner reflects and answers. I will say that I eat the apple.
The apple is eaten by him.
Then the second one is total physical response to train student listening skill. In this method, this is a method of teaching language or vocabulary concept by using physical movement to react. That is, the teacher will give instruction and the student will follow it. This method always used with a song, and we will demonstrate it. And Radhi is the teacher and we are the student.
Okay, we're gonna learn about the body, and one of the songs we're gonna learn is about the head, shoulders, knees, and toes. Repeat after me. Head, shoulders, knees, and toes. Knees and toes. Head, shoulders, knees, and toes.
Okay.
Okay, next is the importance of listening and speaking. Teaching listening refers to teaching listening comprehension. It means that we have to understand what is the use of listening and what we listen to. Listening is an activity of paying attention to and trying to get meaning from something we hear. Students with good listening comprehension skills are better to participate effectively in class. Whenever they focus and they listen carefully, they are able to answer and they are able to collaborate with other people and thus participate effectively. Listening is an essential prerequisite for oral communication to take place. When we listen to others, we are able to give out response, which is how communications are able to take place. Listening is also influences the development of reading and writing. When we listen and when we speak, we can articulate on the reading and writings. And next is academic success. Students understand teachers or lecturers through listening. This is commonly known for us, which is how we listen to lecturers and we are using listening. Because when it comes to lecturing, we don't really participate much in reading or writing. And thus we only listen, and whenever the lecturers give out the question, we have to answer it. Listening and speaking is actually known for human, for our progression as a human. Where we as a baby, we first listen, but we still cannot speak. We have to listen first and learn how to articulate speaking. After we have listened much from our surroundings, and then after that we can develop our speaking skills. And after listening and speaking are developed, after that we can learn how to read and writing.
So now we will go more deeply on KSSR. So KSSR is a Curriculum Standard Sekolah Rendah, or a standard curriculum for primary schools. So actually before the KSSR is the KBSR. So what's the difference between KSSR and KBSR? Actually KBSR, it focuses on to prepare students on the basic language skills that can be used in daily life communication. But for KSSR, it focuses on improvising the already basic learned skills to a better and effectively communication accordingly. So for example, I have the year 1 and also year 6 books. Okay, the content is all the same, also follows the modular, all starting with listening and speaking, reading, writing, and then language arts. But the levels is increasing. So actually they learn the basic, but they try to increase the level so that the person who learns will become more effective in communication. Okay. So in the KSSR, it also focuses on communication, spiritual attitude and values. Okay, spiritual attitude and values, in one of the content of KSSR, it states about how learning how you could speak, how you could greet in a formal situation or informal situation. So it actually integrates the spiritual attitude and values in the English language teaching. And also humanitarian, physical and aesthetical development, science and technology. The curriculum materials, of course, the curriculum standard documents, the DSKP, and also the modular, module 1, 2, 3, 4, the listening and speaking, reading, writing, the language arts. So these are the example, the evidence of the module they use. For year 1, year 2, they have listening and speaking module until language arts module. But for year 3 to year 6, they add in another grammar module. Okay, so this is the arrangement of modules, so you can see the structure. So it's always following this structure. And then they also have school-based assessment, such as what the spiral progression principles, where the teachers need to know the level of the students. So they need to have this school-based assessment. This is the example of school-based assessment from level 1 to level 6. And you can see that actually every point here, from level 1 to level 6, it includes all the context of our KSSR. So it's just that the difference of the level, but the context is still the same. The basic you need to learn is still the same. Yeah. So this you can see we're comparing year 1, year 2, year 3. You see, it's actually almost the same, the context. Like the first one, 1.1.1, able to listen and respond to stimulus given with guidance. And then second one is able to listen and enjoy simple stories. Also the same from year 1 to year 3. The third one, able to listen, say aloud and recite rhymes or sing songs with guidance. The fourth, able to talk about a stimulus with guidance. And then the second one, able to participate in daily conversation. From here, we can see the progression part actually. From year 1, there's exchange greetings. Same with year 2, also have exchange greetings. But for year 3, there's express good wishes. So there's a progression. And then in year 1, introduce oneself. In year 2, it's about introduce family members and friends. And then make polite requests. Thank someone and then express a simple apology. So there's progression in it. Here in able to listen to and follow also have progression. This is able to listen to and demonstrate understanding of oral text by giving yes or no replies, answering simple WH questions for year 1. So there's progression when year 2 also answering simple WH questions, giving true or false replies. But for year 3, there's increase the level with asking simple WH questions, answering simple WH questions, give true or false replies, and also sequencing with guidance. So this is why KSSR is used as the foundation of English language teaching, because it actually achieved all the principles of English language teaching. So these are our reference, and that's all from us.